Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. It is the 6th of March, and welcome to another stream. My name's Peter. Welcome to the stream this evening. Glad to have you with us. Tonight we're going to be doing some interesting stuff, maybe a little different than some things that we've done in the past. Going to be working with our friend the Capybara, test geometry, and giving him some clothes, giving him, doing some simulations, some CFX type work, see what we can get up to with that. I have done various levels of clothing type stuff, over the, past months and years or whatever, but I've never really done this like paneling kind of setup for clothes. And so I was really interested to kind of play around with it, try it out. Understand a bit more of what's going on with it. There's some great videos out there and things like that that really dive super deep into it, but I'm going to do my best to kind of walk you through how they work, and we'll see what we run into, what kind of fun we get into, and I'm sure along the way there'll be some pitfalls and things like that, but we'll see what we do. Hey, Epoxia, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us this evening. So I was actually in a meeting today with a bunch of instructors, and there was like a presentation being given about the muscle system that is in Houdini, and so a lot of talk about that. And I was looking back over some of the requests in the feature, or in the topic request section of the Discord server, and I saw that somebody had asked about Kinefx and Vellum and things like that. And so from a really simple standpoint, it should be pretty straightforward to just add cloth to a character. We're going to try to do a bit more than just attach a piece of cloth to a character. That's where we'll start, just to kind of talk about it a little bit. Hey KG, welcome to the stream. And so we'll first start with just a really simple example, just to kind of get ourselves in the mindset of how this works. And then from there, we can look at some more specific, cases and things like that might, that'll be maybe a bit more interesting, and try to do some constraints and keep the clothing where we want it to, instead of maybe sliding around or whatever, but use the Vellum drape tool and play around with some different things there and see how those pieces and parts kind of all fit together. But speaking of the Discord server, there is a link that you can follow from Houdini Hangout. Oh, there we go. From HoudiniHangout.com. That'll get you access to the Discord server. Lots of great stuff on there. All of the files from past streams are on there that are all in a Google Drive that's kind of all organized and stuff like that. And I try to upload those right after the stream is over, so that you guys have access to that. I actually was shown a really cool tool by one of our instructors in the community out there, and I want to play around with it because I think it was really interesting. It was like a way to be able to share files from Houdini to Discord, which was kind of wild. So I'm not sure exactly the lengths to which we can do that, but I thought that was kind of neat as well. So we'll see what that might look like or entail, but it was certainly cool. It was a pretty neat concept or thought. So I'm going to see what that looks like and how we could maybe do that. But yeah, lots of great stuff on there. You can ask for help on different things. If there's something you were trying out from a previous stream and ran into a problem, you can obviously let me know. Not that I don't run into problems on the stream anyways. So, sometimes that'll happen. And, so if you run into something that I haven't already run into, please feel free to reach out and ask a question on the Discord server. Definitely a lot. I am able to track that a lot better than the comments section on YouTube and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. But hey, Zach, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. So yeah, that's kind of the idea for this evening. We're going to do some cloth type stuff, do some constraint some constrained cloth to a character. Now, this is not something that I have like extensive background in or anything like that. So please don't think like, oh, we're going to get this like super amazing in-depth, like this is every detail of how to make the best cloth ever. We're really going to be talking more about how this works, some of the ideas behind it. And there certainly are much better people to take you into the depths of these workflows. In fact, there was a really great video that I was watching a little bit just to kind of refresh my memory a little bit. But it was from the Toronto Houdini user group. And it was from 2018 actually. So it was from a while ago, but, wow, that feels like it's not that long ago, but it really is just kind of really a long time ago now. Anyways, it was a great kind of walkthrough on this type of workflow, and things have obviously changed a little bit. There's some things in that presentation that I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can do that a different way now, which is great, but just a good thing to kind of keep in mind and kind of see how it works. But hey, I don't know how to say that full name, but I'll just say Shock. Welcome, Shock, to the stream. Glad to have you. Yeah, so that's the idea. We'll see what we can get up to, and I think that's pretty much that. But so yeah, let's get over into Houdini, and we can start playing around with some stuff and seeing what we can get up to. So let's jump over there. Cool. So first things first, we need our capybara, right? So let's do that. Let's try my mouth. Let's drop down a geo node. We'll just say geo capi. Obviously I could just type in capybara, but you know what? I just like to do it the hard way. So there's capybara. One thing to note with the capybara is that this is already kind of a full character. You can see that because we have the kind of character workflow 3 dots that kind of follow out the bottom of it. Now, obviously you can use just the geometry here. You could use the skeleton if you wanted to. That's coming out of this middle output, and the last output is obviously the animated one. So another really cool thing that if you might not know about the capybara, but you can also get the muscles of the capybara and the bones of the capybara. So if you want to play around with the muscle and bone systems, that's all right there for you, ready to go. So some interesting things to kind of think about there. But you might say, okay, well, this capybara doesn't move. If I move the timeline around, we're not getting anything. What the heck? Output motion clip. No, that doesn't do anything. What do we want? Walk. We got a walk animation. Apply locomotion. Why is nothing happening? Well, the reason for that is quite simple. We need to deform this guy because we are getting these 3 streams of geometry out, but we need to deform our geometry. So one thing to keep in mind here is if we put down a null and connect this to the last node here, we'll see that sure enough, we've got an animated skeleton. So something's working. So let's grab a joint deform. And this is going to be kind of our thing that drives all of this deformation here. So we're walking too fast. So I'm going to hit my little stopwatch here. Get this working at a reasonable speed. And there we go. We've got our capybara. And we're going to be able to, have him sort of, animated in place. We could have him moving, whatever we want to do. There's multiple different ways. What we were seeing before now actually will work when we apply the locomotion. We should be able to actually see him move, so we can have him move through the scene, or he can just be static in place. So he walks quite far actually here when we see him with his applied locomotion here. So he walks pretty good distance there. So I think we'll just leave him in place. We can kind of play around with this. It should work either way, but we've got our capybara there. So that's all good. So we have our character animated, right? And really the idea here with doing this is just to say that this is any character, right? This doesn't have to be the capybara. It could be any character that you want. And so there's a couple different things you could possibly do to kind of set this up. And again, I'm not a character animator. I'm not a character artist. This isn't something I've done professionally in studios and things like that. But there's a few different ways that I've seen this kind of work done, and you might have to kind of play around with it to, whatever you find to be the best setup. What you could very well do here is just start with him in his kind of T-pose like this, right? All I did was just took the animated pose here and just wired that in. Actually, yeah, we do need that. So that'll put him in that same position, or you could just leave it as it is. So you could just use this capybara in its static position, and that would work just fine. What you might also want to do is blend between these two, right, to start off the animation. So there's a couple different ways you could go about doing that. Let's see here. There is a skeleton blend that we could use, right? And so this could work where we could take a captured pose and blend in this pose here, and we could change the weight of it, right? So we could start him here, then blend him into his animated pose. Now the only problem there is that we're going to have this animation is going to be it's going to be moving while we're blending, right? So if we were to say something like, let's give it 1 second, right? So we'll start this at a weight of 0, go to 24, give it a weight of 1, right? As we blend into that, it's going to start to try to move and stuff like that, which probably isn't what you want to do. You want your animation to start and kind of give it that little pre-roll to kind of get ready or whatever. So this is like a 1 second little pre-roll we could set up. Awkward Polly, you're very welcome for the streams. Yeah, there is some weird VFX stuff certainly going on out there. Glad to give you a little boost and hopefully get you out there playing around with stuff on your own. Glad to hear that. Always stinks to be in those kind of spots, and we all get there from time to time. So I'm glad to be able to help you out a little with that. So yeah, I'm obviously in a fortunate position to not be that as directly tied to the industry in that sense. Like there's multiple industries that I help serve. So, but yeah, it can be tricky when things seem a little rough like that. So, hey, no problem. Glad to give you a stream that might be just something to get you motivated. So yeah, no problem at all. So we could do this, and I'm trying to remember if we could just do this with the frame, if we could just offset this. So if we did this plus 24, minus 24, that I would think would work. Let's see here. Let me just see if that will. No, it's looping. Okay. So what we could do instead would be to time shift this, I think. Let's see here. Let's see if we can time shift this. Because remember, this is just geometry. We can do anything to these streams here that we could do with normal geometry. So let's just delete channels here, and we'll just clamp to first. Yep, there we go. That'll work. So what we're seeing now is this will hold and then it'll start moving. So that's just basically a way to just get a little offset there for it, so that we can have it basically pause before it gets into that first move. And that is just basically a way to do a little pre-roll there. So that's probably our best, kind of our best bet for doing this type of thing. So let's just leave it at that for right now. That'll be our sort of character. It'll give us a chance to kind of have him in a rest pose, and then blend into this final pose. Maybe what we'll even do for right now is we'll just bypass this. And what I'll do is I'll just add a switch in here, just so we can change this back and forth. So I'll just keep this at the capture pose for right now. I'll shift R to switch those. And that'll just allow us to switch, switch rest. So this way we could switch it between rest and animation. So here, when we blend it, it'll either just be the rest pose or this kind of blended animation. So for right now, we can just leave it like this, allow it to just be at rest, and then we can kind of look and play around with this as we go to get this to do exactly, what we want it to. So, cool. Let's do this. We've got our joint to form here. Let's do a null, and we'll just say out. Yeah, so awkward. The question is it for easier draping? Yeah, I mean, for right now, a lot of our draping is going to be done on this static geometry, but really what it allows us to do is go from that kind of rest drape pose, right? That we're kind of getting this like rest position, and more easily get into this first pose, right? Because we want to have some sort of a reference frame, just like with our animation, right? Like just with our, or with our character itself, like it needs to have this rest pose. We do all our painting and yada, 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 all that stuff. And then we can keep that as kind of our rest, and we know that the deformation is done from that position. Well, kind of with a simulation, you can't just jump from a T pose into, like let's just say we were here, to just jump from a T pose to this is going to cause some real issues. So you want to give yourself a little bit of a pre-roll type situation where that will be allowed to happen. And so that's sort of what we're doing there, is easing in the simulation where we have it where we want it to for that rest position, and then from there we can kind of move it into the right start for our animation. And the cool thing here is that this animation doesn't have to be obviously this animation could be anything. It could be any character animation with skeletal stuff, and you could do all that and blend it. And that's kind of the neat thing about the KineFX workflow, is that you have some of those controls and things like that where you could retarget geometry or retarget animation, things like that, from other characters, from Mixamo animation, all that type of thing. I'm not going to go into that tonight, because I think really the interesting thing to talk about here is some of the clothing and kind of cloth type stuff. So we'll just kind of stick with his actual animation here. I mean, I'm not an animator, like I said, so I can't really come up with something more interesting than this. And I think instead of playing around with Mixamo animation, which you can find a lot of like the retargeting stuff out there. In fact, there's an entire series on doing retargeting from a Carnegie Mellon like data set of motion, motion capture like stuff that they've done. Is it still possible if you don't have that pre-roll? I mean, there's gonna be like, yeah, it really just seems like that's the only way to really go about an actual clothing simulation within these character workflows. There might be other ways you could do it, but really this is the one that I've seen the most, where you kind of start in a rest position and then move the character into the next position, the next kind of start pose or whatever. And really the other thing too there is that allows the cloth to deform into that position, right? Even when we were talking about, there was actually in the last release, they were talking about machine learning with this Capybara, and what they did was a bunch of Vellum simulations and of like his skin and muscles and things like that moving. And when we did that, you do have to give it a little roll, because otherwise you can't just simulate, the simulation has to have a starting point and be able to kind of deform from there. So I would say that this is probably the smarter way to do it. I'm sure there's other ways. I don't know probably every way of doing this stuff, but this to me seems like the smartest way. And you don't have to probably have a second. I'm just being sort of round in my estimation. Maybe 10 frames is enough. I'm sure there's some shorthand in the industry as far as how long that should be. I'm just picking a second here just because it feels relatively good, I guess, to me mentally. So, but anyways, yeah. Okay, cool. So we've got our Capybara geometry. Great. We've got him doing this like blend into his first pose and then moving. So that's great. And let's kind of go from there and see what we can do. So we've got our Cappy geometry coming out here. I made a null for that. And what I actually do is I'll say like that, geo animation Cappy. Cool. All right. So next, let's take a look at just attaching some simple geometry to this, just to kind of start the conversation off, because we should probably start. We need to start somewhere, right? So let's do that, and we can kind of go from there and see how this will work. So let's drop another geometry node down, and now we can do our sim. We'll just say cape first. We'll just give him a cape and just a really simple piece of cloth. So let's do that. I'm just gonna say this and that. All right, let's go in here. Let's do an object merge. Get the Cappy geometry out. That's good. We'll say get Cappy geo anim, something like that. Cool. And so now we've got our geometry here. Now he's not animated, right? We don't have anything there, but this could certainly be animated geometry. This is the output of it, so we could obviously change that in the future. So we've talked about Vellum a bunch before, so with Vellum, what we're going to do is a planar patch. So this is like a quick way to just get kind of a grid of nice uniform triangles, right? Now it's not uniform in the sense of like a uniform grid, but they're uniform in size, more or less. Okay, Awkward Pally, you had another question there. If client doesn't provide a T-pose for the character, would you then blend retargeted T-pose from a different character and the client animation? I'm pretty sure what you could do to get I think there's a way to extract a T-pose out from a skeleton. I've seen that. I feel like I've seen that talked about before, where if you had an animated character, I think that there would be, I feel like, let me see here. Is there even a T-pose? No. No, that's not it. I'm just trying to think if there is a, because there's pose stuff in here. I feel like there is a way to get the transforms out. I honestly don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you could figure that out using rotational data from the actual joints. I have a feeling that there would be a way to calculate that and set it back to a T-pose. I can't think of what the exact way of doing that is right now, and that might be through like a through a rig. Yep, typing great tonight. The rig. Is there a rig attribute VOP? There might be something in here where there's like an extract or something like that. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's a way to calculate that. But anyways, I don't have a great answer for that, but I would assume that there's some sort of mathematical way to calculate that. Okay, anyways, we could do something like this, like a trapezoid here, I think. Now, can we... Yeah, there we go. You can do a little trapezoidal taper here or something like that. Cool. All right, so let's just kind of get this into position. We'll put it kind of close to... Oops, moved that the wrong way. Move it kind of up to his back here. Something like that. And one of the really nice things about this planar, yeah, maybe like there's some sort of like intrinsic or something like that you could extract. Yeah, I think it's something along that lines, but I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, I think it would be something along those lines. Okay, so we've got this planar patch here. And one of the nice things about this is we can get seam, like we can get these edge these edge groups here that we can make. So we can just say cape, we can call that cape. Now that turns this patch name into cape. And we could say the top seam here. it looks like we can also, yeah, we can also set the number of points on this top edge, which is kind of interesting. You know, you can kind of explicitly set that, which is kind of cool, which could be really useful if you have to match up points between different shaped geometry. Like, for example, if you had an object like this that tapered out and you wanted to match, like sew it together to something like opposite, you'll see we'll be doing this in a second, something opposite that was narrower, it would by default sort of have less points, right? And you want to stitch those points one to one so that you can weld them together. You could explicitly set the number of points there and allow them to stitch in a proper way. So let's do this, 0.6, cool. And I want that top seam because I'm going to try to make that like an elastic seam, so it kind of like scrunches together, so it isn't like bunching, but actually kind of collapses together a little bit. And okay, so that's cool. Let's do this. Let's do a Vellum configure cloth. And we've kind of talked about this quite a bit on here, so we're not going to go too crazy with this. We're going to attach that to the collision geometry. So now we have our cloth and our collision geometry. We can visualize our thickness of this cloth. That's pretty thick. Let's maybe do that a little less, like maybe like a thickness of 1 should be good, something like that. You can see with these little spheres, it gives you kind of an idea of the thickness. It's probably still too thick. We maybe would even go down to like something like that, 0.5. And we could possibly give, I mean, it probably would make sense to give a little more definition to this. So maybe we'll do like 0.5 just to give it a little bit more, something like that. And then what we want to do is we want to, let's see, we'll do a Vellum constraints here, and let's see, we want to attach it to geometry, right? So there we go, we're getting it attached to the geometry, and we want to set this to be, we want this to be less, not have this set distance, right? We want to, first of all, only take that top edge, which is pretty simple. We're going to just look at the top edge, which is going to be edges, and we can set, or is it going to be points? Sorry. There we go. Cape top. So it's just going to be that, right? And we want that to connect to it. So let's just grab a Vellum solver here and we'll see what that looks like, just to kind of get an idea for what's happening, because this should be attached. But we'll go from here first. So let's look at this. So this should have an attachment there, and you can see, yeah, it's attached, but it's a little funky. And if we do some visualization here, we should be able to see attached to geometry constraints, and there they are. So these are long attachments, right? These are quite long. So they're working, but we really don't want them to be that long. They're just that length because of how far they are initially from it. So let's adjust the rest length scale. Maybe we'll say like 0.1 or something like that. Now let's simulate that. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere here. But we're getting a lot of bunching together, which is not kind of what we want to happen. So let's try to fix that and say, we'll do another Vellum constraints. So we'll say this, cape to Cappy. That's funny. That's a funny one. This will be elastic top edge. So this will be cloth. Okay, so there we go. So let's now take a look at this, and we can use that same group, which is a point group, cape top. We'll say distance along edges here, and we can set the rest length scale to be lesser for that. So maybe we'll do 0.2. And I believe this should allow for that to not get so bunched together. And it does. Yes, you can see here the difference. We might still want to reduce that even a little bit more. Let's do that. Let's see. And here. I think the other thing we're running into is that these points are a bit too large, and they're kind of, I think they're colliding with each other actually. Sorry, let me just see here what's going on. The other thing I kind of am wondering actually is if I do points and do this. I wonder if that'll help actually. Oh, okay. Sorry, I think that was my problem. I was doing, I was just simply doing it as a distance along edges. And I kind of have a feeling that that is what was the issue there. So let me just see if that will work a little bit better. Just take that group out of there. Mass and thickness should be unchanged. Rest length scale should change. What's the difference if I do... Ah, yes. Okay. I see. Cool. That's what we want to do, I think. All right, let's see if we can see if that works. And let me give this just one more, little more constraint iteration just to see if that helps us out here at all. Yeah, so I think what we're running into a couple different things, right? Like those are allowing it to get a little bit smaller, but we are still running into the issue of the next level of these aren't as happy there. So what we could possibly do is like grow that selection a little bit, just to make sure that we're not running into as much issue there. Maybe if we were to do this, just maybe give a few less points there. Let's see if that works any better. Nope, works worse. Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's just reduce this a little more. See if we can't. Yep, cool. And then let me just turn off this compression stiffness for a second, just see if that's causing us the issue. No, it shouldn't matter the order, because just to remember, when you're dealing with simulations like Vellum, these are all starting positions for this simulation. It's not the it's not like they're modifying something, right? They are modifying, but it shouldn't really matter. Now in this case, if we did the elastic top edge first, I guess that would be bad, because let me look at the constraint geometry here, because I'm pretty sure what's happening. So we're adjusting these constraints, right? And if we were to turn this on or off based on if they're in the cape top, let's see here. How are we going to see that? Okay, so these all have pretty... Okay, so let's do this, see if there's anything... Why do those have negative rest lengths? It's really weird. Oh, because those are the bend. Those are the bend constraints, right? Okay, so let's do this and see if we have any really small. Yep. So when this is set to 1, you can see right there we're adjusting those rest lengths, and that should just be on some of those, right? Should not be across the board that this is getting adjusted. It's only on some of those specific ones. So if we were to set this to 0.01 or something super tiny like that, It's going to just pull that all the way closed. And the problem is going to be that we don't oh, you know what, that might be part of it too. Stiffness might just be too high on it. So the reason there, what we're doing is we're modifying stuff up earlier. So setting kind of your base properties for your simulation is going to be kind of the best thing to do first, like cloth and things like that. Then when you're starting to do like attachments, you could do this here. You could also do it here. It's not really going to change anything about, you know, what we're doing, right? It's going to be the same, more or less the exact same simulation. So yeah, it's not going to be a problem there. So really you want to kind of set up your default stuff first and then go from there. Let's see here. I wonder if we just change something like that. If that would help. Oh, maybe it's just that these, oh, I see. It's just that these points are trying to connect directly to the same point. Now I'm seeing what it's doing. We'll just say, ooh, geez. Ba, ba, ba. I wonder if we couldn't make this a little bit better. Hold on one second. So let's just do a transform here, just so these don't have to be quite so long. And what we could do is just rotate this into place. So I think that's what we're running into here. Why is that not showing me my handles? Oh, because it's there. Let's transform from centroid. There we go. So let's just move this here so it's a little closer. So bring this down just a little bit. Okay, I have a feeling this is going to work better already. So now we shouldn't have to go quite so far to make that work. And hopefully... yeah, hopefully that'll work a bit better. Let's take a look. Looks like it's going to work way better. And really the issue there is I think it was just trying to pull them all too close together. It was bunching up just too much and kind of pulling all those points into too close of an area. And there we go. Now we actually have that a bit in a better rest position. The other thing we might want to do there too is possibly set some sort of a, I think we could do you could set the rest length scale of this here. I think you could possibly change that as well. All right, I'm just going to see if I should pull the stiffness of this down too. That might help us a little. Just kind of play around with some settings here just to make sure I'm sort of getting this right, or at least reasonable. Cool. All right, so what we could do here is just start like this. Yeah, it could also. Yeah, deleting one of the constraints that are like linked to the same point could also help. I think we're okay here because they're actually not quite overlapping the same way that they were before. So we've got a little bit less to worry about there. I'm also thinking, is it? No, I always forget. Yeah. Just trying there's so many different constraints. I'm always like, wait, which one is it actually? But that seems to be the right one. Okay. Just making sure I'm getting that right. Okay. So what we could do now from here is, since this is pretty straightforward, we could just now input our capybara geometry here with the animation. So we could just switch this over, right? And we could let our simulation run. And then he'll kind of get to his rest position. And then from there, he's going to start moving and kind of bouncing around and doing his thing. And I'm just going to control click that. And let's get to visualize here. And I'm going to turn off collision. There we go. So now we've got him with his cape, walking around, looking cool, simulating. Probably doesn't need to be that, that stiff or whatever. I think we could do, yeah, he's got the Peaky Blinders strut. Yeah. He's got a good little strut there going. Yeah. But, so we've got that sort of working there. It's all doing sort of what we'd expect it to. Then you would come in here and play around with some of these settings. What they actually mentioned was that in that one video was that if you have higher resolution mesh, sometimes adjusting the compression stiffness can actually help as well. It can kind of make it for a little bit of a nicer simulation, which is interesting. The other thing I'm going to do is give it, well, actually the bend stiffness is pretty low. I might just give it a little bit less stretch stiffness, because sometimes I feel like it can feel a little on the stiff side when it's like super solid. So cloth has a little give to it sometimes, so let it have a little bit of a give to it maybe. So we've got our cloth going here. So that's working, and kind of it's attached to our geometry. And we could do this either way, right? We could have it where he sims like this and he just starts walking in place. Or we could have it so that we, excuse me. So we have his locomotion applied. I'm also going to delete that. Oops. Sorry, there we go. Just wanted to reset it. So we could also do it where he has locomotion, and then he's going to start. Hey, Tom, welcome. He's at home. Tom stays at work too long. He really upsets the work-life balance. It's side effects. So we can do that, and then he'll start moving, and we'll have that motion as well in the simulation. So probably realistically speaking, this is the better way to simulate it, where he's actually moving in his world space, right? Because that is it's gonna impact this in some different ways that it wouldn't normally otherwise. The other thing I'm noticing now is the density actually feels a little too high, so maybe we just bring that down a little bit, and see what we get there. No, I don't think he is, but he certainly could be. You never know with those Belgians. They're tricky. You never know if they're just going to stay at the office all night or whatnot. But no, he just likes Houdini too much. That's the problem. And when you have to realize that when you work at the actual office, the side effects office, there's just a lot of smart people around all the time. And it's just, it can be really fun to just hang around there and learn stuff. And yeah, it can be hard to feel like you want to leave. So no sleeping. Oh yeah. See, that's even smarter. You don't sleep, and then you're off to a much better start. Cool. So this is the basic workflow for this, right? Like this is the basic, like, okay, we're going to attach some cloth, get the capybara moving. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to not remesh, reverse this, because our normals were facing the wrong way. Then if we just add a color here, we can just can give him an actual superhero red cape. There he goes. Now he's a real superhero. Okay, so this is the basic stuff. This is really pretty simple. We're not doing anything overly crazy here. I'm just going to change this back so he's walking. Oops, sorry. So he's not moving in space, and we can just kind of watch his walk as is without having to kind of follow him around too much. But there we go. We've got the capybara kind of walking, doing his thing. So that's kind of step one, right? Is how do we attach geometry? How do we get it to work with a character like this and follow it and do all that type of a thing? So it's kind of a couple step process. We're doing some other things as well, like changing the elasticity of those constraints that are attached to where these two things are coming together, right? So we could turn that off, and it's going to have a little bit of a different look. We're going to have a bit more bunching there than we did previously. So let's take a look at the difference here. Let's do a flip book of this. At least it should. Again, I'm going off of another kind of person's talk that I was for exporting optimally. I mean, this is a pretty light geometry, what we're looking at here. I mean, I would just cache this to disk. You're not going to run into too much issues here. We have just this cloth, right? It's a few hundred, probably a few thousand points, maybe. I think no, there's not really anything too crazy with this. I mean, I would just export it as whatever file format you're kind of wanting to, right? Like, I don't think you're going to run into too many issues with it. I think it's pretty much just export the caches and things like that. So yeah, I don't think there would be anything too overly complicated to think about for that. Let's do this, and then I'll start another flip book here and see, just to get a little feeling for the difference here. I think you're just going to see the main difference along this top edge here, and the bunching is going to kind of flow backwards a little bit here. So if we look at the image and do compare images and kind of slide this over, actually, let's change that to be split vertical. Let's see here. We should just see that there's a little bit, maybe less bunching there. Let's see here. Let's do a sequence list. Just kind of A-B that. So that's the first one. That's the second one. It's just going to be a little bit smoother along that edge because it's kind of, we're trying to pull those, we're allowing those constraints to pull a little tighter together. The other thing, just thinking about that actually, one more thing I want to check. So let's see here. Yeah, you can see that this is kind of like all bunched up and pulled together there, whereas this is allowing it to maybe even sit down a little flatter. For this, the other thing I was thinking was if we set this compression stiffness to maybe just 1 like that, that actually might give us those values we're looking for. Let's just do this. I just want to look at them. There they are. Elastic top. Okay, let's see that. And I'm just going to turn off the animation for 1 second. I just want to look at that and see if that changes anything. But turn off the animation. No, it seems to be about doing the same thing. I'll have to look and see exactly why. Why that was doing that. Well, anyways, it's enough of that. Let's move on and look at how we do some draping of clothes. Hey, Matt, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Welcome, welcome. So let's see here. Let's do another geo node, and we'll say sim clothes. And for this, I'm going to grab... if you wanted them really bunched up, what you actually might want to do is actually expand the rest length, and that's going to try to like push them out and kind of like, I think you would want to do that. It's almost the opposite here, where you would do like extend the rest length here. See if that does it. This actually doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I think that's my problem, is that this is not... Oh, no, there we go. There we go. That looks to be actually doing it. Yeah, like that is going to start allowing it, because we're going to allow it to actually bend quite a bit more. Might also turn this compression stiffness down just to see what that does. No. Set that back to default. So yeah, you could certainly have some more like ruffles and things like that set in here. I think there's actually a pleating thing that you can do as well with that planar. There's like a planar pleat or something like that. Let's see. I don't remember exactly how this works. Oh yeah, you can actually like... I'm sure I'm just not thinking of why. Oh yeah, it's probably this. Probably on the wrong. No. I'm just doing this off the top of my head now, but there's a way to do some pleating here. I don't exactly know how that node works, so I'm going to just let that be. But yeah, I think what you would do is you would extend the rest length of those points, and they kind of bunch together. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to kind of mess with, and like I said, I'm certainly not the expert on all of the different styles of, working with different things with cloth. I would take a look at, like I said, that Toronto Houdini user group video. I can post it in the Discord later just to take a look at it to see, because they're going into really extensive stuff, like super complicated, like tons of, like, if you've ever seen that, like there's like a dancing woman in one of the release videos, they actually talk about how they made that there, which is pretty cool. So it's just it's like a really in-depth walkthrough of the whole thing. So probably worth going to take a look at. All right, let's do this. Let's grab Capygeo again here. We'll just paste it over here. I'm going to hide the other objects. Cool. All right, so what we want to do now is I'm going to hide that. Let's do a reference image here for us. And I downloaded a couple of reference images here. So let me grab this one. And I'm just going to scale this up a bit and see if I can't use this kind of as a bit of a reference for myself. That's a bit too big. Let's see, what about 2? Let me see here. Isn't there a way to... Oh, no. What is the pivot hotkey? I can never remember that. Shift. There we go. So I just want to move this over to... What the heck? That is weird. It's very counterintuitive to me. Let's move that over to there. And then it's shift and that. No. What is that key command? Oh, okay. Shift. I see. That one. There we go. Just got my ticks wrong there. Okay. So let's bring this down just a little more. We can use this sort of as a little template. I found these like clothing template things online that you could use. So let's do something like, maybe something like that. And this is for a t-shirt. So let's just, let's see how that works. He's a big guy, so we're going to need a lot of clothing. He's a pretty hefty dude. So we have a reference image. Let's go over here. And actually, I do need to show other objects so I can see that. Let's grab a curve. And I think Bezier curve is going to be best. So let's do that. And we're going to turn off this here so we don't see that. And let's go into these and start drawing some curves here. So let's see here. Is that a pirate hat? No. That's actually the sleeve. That's what a sleeve here looks like when it's sewed. This is what do they call this? A block pattern for sewing. So that one, the one with the lower cut, is the front. This one, sorry, I'm like pointing at my screen like you can see it. This one is the front panel of a t-shirt, right? There's seams down the side of it. At least in some. My t-shirt actually doesn't have that, but that's okay. I'm like thinking about like, wait, I don't have seams there. Anyways, this would be, actually, I'm trying to think of how they even do that otherwise. Anyways, I'm not a seamstress, so I'm like trying to think through this as I'm talking. But those are the sleeves. So actually that part is like the top part of your sleeve that sits on the shoulder, and that bottom, like this part right here, would be the underside of the sleeve. So that like wraps around your arm. Not sure if we're going to get to the sleeves. We might just give them a tank top. But we'll see. We'll see how far we get with it. I'm going to play around with it a little. But okay, so let's just kind of get some curves for this, because you'll see what we're going to do here. So let's do this. Are very expensive. No. Nope. They are not very expensive. I can promise you that. All right, let's do this and this. Just going to draw some curves. I think this is working fine. Yeah, let's just draw the whole thing now that I'm thinking of it. Yeah, we'll just go all the way around. It's fine. So one of the things that's kind of key to this is to make sure that your front and back geometry is the same. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to hide the other object. So now we should have this geometry. The only thing here is I need to edit this. So let's see if I change the mode. If I control, there we go. That's what I wanted. Just want to re-pull those tangents. I really love doing Bezier curves. I think they're so fun. It's one of the things I used to really enjoy doing. Yeah, I understand. It's a letdown. I know. Sorry. All right, so this is going to be the front of this shirt. So let's do this. So let's do a planar patch from curves. And so now here we can see that we have our curves that are being, our patch that's being made from this curve. Now we're going to want to resample probably the edge of this because you can see here that it's only treating the actual points here as its edges, right? So we can see that this is sort of not really doing what we want it to do, right? There's definitely some weirdness going on here. So let's resample this first of all. And let's do it by polygon edge, I believe, is how we want to do this. And let's see here. I just want to see what this is actually doing for us here. That's probably fine. We can do that. And actually, I wonder if this will even do a better job of that. Let's just see here. Resample curves. No, I guess it's probably about the same. That'll be fine. We got a couple like small ones there, but no big deal. I don't think that'll be a problem. So what we can do here is if we take this and we also, let's see here. I just want to see if this is going to massively change it. I don't think it will, but let's see. I'm just going to make the back real quick. So let's do this. And I think I want to do, oh, sorry. What's the key command for that? Oh, nope. E, there we go. Just move this up a little bit here. So this is going to sort of be the back of it, right? Yep, that should be good actually. This changed the points up there a little bit, but I don't think that's going to really matter too much because what we want to be careful about is where we're attaching these points here between the two. So that should be fine. Let's grab this one here. So let's grab both of these and let's just wireframe him. There we go. Might need to change the scale of this a little bit. We'll see. But all right, let's do this. Let's take our back and we're gonna need to reverse this. Right. And we'll just say back panel. Might as well just grab some things there. And then let's call this front panel. Do the same thing here. And then let's just transform those. And merge them together. He's got a big belly. This might need to be a little bit of a stretchy shirt. This might be a spandex shirt. He's a big dude. All right, let's give him just a little extra. Oops. Give him a little extra room there. Cool. Yep, looks good. And let's just do a reverse here so that our normals are facing the right way. Cool. All right, so we've got those two elements there. That's great. Let's take those and do a vellum drape. Oh, sorry. We need to do the... Sorry, not the vellum drape yet. We need to... I need to turn those into cloth first. That's right. That's what we need to do. Okay. And we'll want to have our collision geometry. We'll wire that in. Cool. All right, so we've got our vellum collision geometry. What we're going to want to do here is weld some additional seams, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to select some points here. And I think, there we go. We'll select those. Oops. It's really hard to see with the highlighted. Sorry, I'm just going to see if I can. Yeah, let's turn that off. That'll be a little easier to see. All right, so let's just do Shift. Let's click Shift A. There we go. Let's Shift click. And I think Shift A will work here. There we go. And then again, Shift click. And then Shift A. Shift click. Shift A. I think that will have selected all the edges. Looks like it. Cool. All right, great. Hit enter. There we go. We got our groups. And those are just randomly connecting to the other side. So let's go to the target group and we'll just do the same thing there. So let's do click, Shift A, click, Shift A. I'm really saying this out loud just to remind myself. All right, there we go. And that should do for that. And there we go. We've got some stitches that are kind of going across. Oh, look at that. I think... Yep. So maybe what we should do here, maybe the better way of doing this, I'm going to clear this. I think the better way of doing this is to say, do this like one seam at a time, right? Because what I did was I actually went backwards there. So that's going to be a real pain to do it. So if I want to do Shift, like, oops, click, Shift A, like that, hit enter. And then we'll do the target. We'll say, oops, target. That, and that should line up. Yep, I think I just went the opposite way. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. So I think your best bet on this is to do this like a couple, like just a seam at a time, right? So we'll just do a couple seams here and just call that a day like that, right? There we go. Do the same thing here. Okay. And this will just allow us to be, you know, a little more forgiving with these, right? So if we do mess this up, we're only messing up one seam, right? And we're not messing up every one. Hello? we're not messing up every one of our seams like I did there, because that selection, the order would have mattered, and I could have probably gone back and changed it, but silly, silly to do that. Also, the other nice thing about this, doing it this way which is actually probably smarter as well, is that, when you do it like this, I'll just do this last one. Someone's screaming. You can cycle them, so you could actually offset them, right? So that's nice as well. So if you did them individually like this and you were like, there was like a slight mismatch in them, it would allow for that to get fixed. Okay, so we've got our welds set up here, and that's going to snap those together. We'll see how well this works for the capybara. I'm a little worried. Whoops. I'm a little worried about his outstanding size here. He's a big dude. Let's see here. We've got we got an outstanding error inside of there. All right, so let's see what we can do here. So we have our solver. There's a couple things to note about this. One is that the time scale is lower. So this is actually going to go slower than real time. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing is that there's going to be a welding frame delay. They actually suggested that this could be an issue. So let's take a look at that and see if changing that helps. There's also the drag and damping. So you'll see that obviously in this case, we won't have that really coming into play, but they were showing a dress in their example. And in that example, because the dress was very loose in parts, the quicker it would snap together, which you'll see in a second here, it would actually like impart like all this velocity into the simulation. So you don't always want that. So let's take a look at this and see what we could do here. All right, so let's just take a look at what this does by default, and we can kind of go from there. It's just going to set itself up. And there we go. It's going to pull tight. Wow, that's like a dress almost. That is not a t-shirt in any way, shape, or form. All right, so let's do a couple of things here to fix. Perfect fit. Nailed it. All right, let's do a couple of things to fix this here. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and this. See if I can't. Let's see here. This. Just trying to remember how to do this. Sorry. And of course, that's like underneath my... I'm going to turn that off for right now just so I can see this better. What if I do this and this? There we go. Okay. That's probably what we want. Something like that. Then we'll do the same thing over here. Just to give him some extra size. And then... Oh, wait, what happened here? All right, I just want to see what these two things look like. All right, so let's take this, move these up. Looks like the bottom of that other one got moved as well. Oops. This is the back panel here, so let's do this. Move this up a little bit as well. And let's grab both the bottoms of these and see if we can't change those a little bit as well. Probably going to want to make it a little wider as well for him. Oops. just trying to match these up together so that they fit properly. Okay, that should be good. Let's do this and this. Actually, I probably have to do them one at a time. Just switch that out a little bit. See if we can't give them a little more width here. Oh, sorry, do those one at a time. I like that. Shoddy. Yeah, it looks like Cappy was about to go clubbing there for a minute. He's gonna go out, hit a night out on the town, you know. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. So we got our front, we got our back. I think we'll be pretty good with those. Let's just sort of look at these. I think we'll be all right. We're gonna have to probably redo those pins. Yep, definitely will need to. That's okay. But I think we'll be okay. Well, let's just try a couple things here first. So like that. Okay, looking good. Looks good so far. Cool. Think we're going to be okay. Again, I think if I was a professional at this, I would have known a little bit better ahead of time how to make these garments, but yeah, just kind of making it off the top of my head here, so we'll see what happens. All right, last one. You could certainly do this procedurally as well. I am doing this just, and I'm going to turn the stiffness down a little bit here, maybe. Let's just see what happens if we do that. Okay, one more thought here. Just going to make these arm sockets a little bit bigger. Oops. Arm sockets, arm holes? I don't know. I don't know what the term for all these things. Yeah, for sure. It's not always obvious, for sure. Let's do that. And then I'll just try to match that up over here. Hopefully that'll be all we need to do. That's my hope. Not sure, but we'll see. Okay. Let's see what we have to change over here. So, that sucks. I was kind of hoping that those would stay relatively the same. The thing I'm kind of wondering here is if I kind of feel like these corners are part of the problem here. This is where I need that hardened corner thing. Who made that? That was so good. It was like a resample with like a hardened corner. Am I missing something there? Is there a way to make that so that it's not putting these points? Oh, Houdini Hangouts live. My stream elements decided to just post that. Cool. We've been live for a while there, guys. You're a little late to the party. Um, hmm. Man, I'm just trying to think if there is. Sorry, I'm just going to open my Discord up here. I've been meaning to have that open. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to pop right in front of everything there. Is there a resample? No. Okay. Just wish there was a way to like harden those edges. You know what I mean? Just trying to think about this here. Could I? Can I do this? No. Okay. It's like, can I resample just by one edge? Sorry, just thinking for a second here. If there's a way to make that harder. Maybe. Why am I feel like I'm just having a dumb moment here. Yeah, I don't think you could, Zach, because I'm pretty sure it's going to. Yeah, because this is a Bezier curve, right? So there really are only 2 points here. So you couldn't really exclude them. Oh. Why am I'm missing something really stupid, and I don't know why I'm doing that. Sorry, give me one more second here. Turn off Eve. Even edge segments. Well, maybe I can just find a better resample value here, maybe. What maybe if I do... What if I do this? Just curious if doing a couple of them will... No. Ay, ay, ay. Why is that acting so goofy? I mean, I know it. There should be a way to do this, but maybe there isn't a good way to do it. Maybe what I should do instead is... All right, I have an idea. I think what I could do here instead to make this a little bit better would be to isolate the curves. Yeah, exactly. Resamples rounding my corners, which happens a lot of times, but in this case, I really don't want it to happen. So I think what I should do instead of just having one curve here is, like, instead of trying to do this all in one curve, do this in a few different curves. Like, this is one curve, this is one curve, this is one curve, this is one curve, and just do it like that with a few different pieces and just fuse them all together, basically. I'm gonna try that. See if that... Yep, resampled by polygon edges, checked. The problem is that we're getting these really tiny triangles here. Oops, sorry. Turn that off. We're getting these little tiny triangles here, which I don't want, because those little tiny triangles are causing some not so fun issues with our geometry. So yeah, see down here we're getting these really tiny triangles, which are being a real pain. I feel like now that I'm thinking of it, they actually did mention that in that video. So let me do that real quick. That should be fairly easy to do. I'll just redraw it over top of this. So let's see here. And I can actually just... Snap it to the points. I'll try it. I think I've tried them all, but I'll give it a shot. Sample checked. Maximum segment length. Unchecked. Maximum segments checked. Yeah, see, that's again, we're running into that same resample problem here where it's like they're getting so close together at the end there. Like it's a little better, right? Maybe that's fine. Let me see. Now we're getting some really weird stuff here. All right, I'm just going to do this real quick. Should be fairly straightforward to do. All right, so that's one curve. Cool. What? Oh, right. I had that in the wrong thing. I need to set this there. Yeah, sometimes it can be a pain when it doesn't work the way you want it to, right? It really can be just a huge pain. But no, I love working with Houdini. It's just these are things I don't do all the time, so I'm just kind of trying to learn them on the fly while everybody's here watching, which can be fun. It's fun and also sometimes the worst, but also fun and sometimes the worst. All right, so there we go. We've got those curves. Yeah, there's not really a ton of planar path. That's a great that I was looking at that, and the problem sort of is that like yes, there's smoothing and you can resample, but it's just resampling it the same way. So it's like it's smoothing it, but it's also like not doing what I want it to. So I think we'll be fine with this. This will be the best way to do it. It's just kind of a pain. But it'll be fine. All right, so let's do another Bezier. This should be pretty straightforward, I think, to do this. There we go. Why is it putting them down there? I don't know. Bezier. Do another one like so. Bezier. No, the capybara is test geometry. It is not my design, no. It'd be fun if it was. I'm not a character designer by any stretch of the imagination. Oops. Let's see here. I'm going to go into F into the edit mode. Just tweak this a little bit. there we go. Looking good. Then it's interesting that it's actually like keeping these. I'm kind of surprised by that. I didn't realize that it's setting these view flags on it. I didn't realize it would do that. Bezier. What's the hot command for? Is there? I don't know if there's one. All right, let's just do this. I'm just going to do one. I'll actually make this a bit easier. Point up there. Cool. Go to F just to modify this a little bit. Fine. That'll be fine. And then one more. I keep hitting enter for some reason, thinking that that's going to do something for me, and it's just not. So that's funny. It's the tab menu, and I know that. There we go. All right. Now we've got all of our curves. It put them all down there, which is great. Let's just see what happens here. Can we turn those off? Thank you. Well, that's a bit of a mess. Let's just sort that out. There we go. Hey, look at that. It's like it's working or something. Now we're going to have nice sharp corners. Hooray. Okay. That looks good. Let's do a fuse. And then I think that'll be fine. Let's just double check. Not sure. Yeah, hooray. Cool. All right, that looks good. A little bit messier way of doing it, but it'll work. And what we could do then is, I wonder if is there a curve? No, I wish there was a curve edit. That'd be cool. Huh. Like you could go back in and edit your Beziers. That'd be kind of fun. All right, so I guess we're gonna need to do another one of those. That kind of sucks. Let's, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna do this and say, what are these? These are gonna be front curves. You can't see that at all. And I'm just gonna do that. That'll work. These will be our back curves. And then we can just edit them. Okay. Sorry for that little bit of a detour there. My apologies, but I think we'll be in decent shape here in a second. Just select all of these up here. If you don't know that little trick about net boxes, it's kind of a cool little thing you can do there. Let's do that, do this, Alt, click, there we go. Great, and then all we need to do is grab that middle curve, which is right there, cool. And then I'm gonna take this and just move it upwards a little bit. Oh, my point lock is on. Oh, thanks, man. It's been a while since I've done any work on it, but I appreciate that, thank you. It's very kind of you to say. It's been, like I said, it's been a hot minute since I've updated it. So there's that. And let's just say back curves. I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this, but there we go. That's what we're doing. So let me know I'm sure someone's watching this and screaming at me somewhere. So if that's you, please feel free to join the Discord server and yell at me there. Go to Houdini Hangout. Come yell at me. Anyways, I think now we're good. We've got much better geometry here, although... Oh. Yeah. get there. We'll get there eventually, guys. We'll get there eventually. There we go. Jeez. I'm telling you. I'll eventually figure it out. Okay, there we go. One more time. Let's do this. Oops. Let me turn my thing back on here. There we go. At least you can sort of see what I'm doing. At least I'm getting faster at this now. Honestly, the smart thing to do here would be to group these. Yep, that would be really smart to do. Just thinking. It's not worth going back and doing all of that right now. Halfway through this. All right. I'll probably regret that, but here we are. Okay. Here. Okay. And then one more. There we go. All right, let's see how this goes and see what we get for Mr. Capybara here. I think his neck hole's too small. What do you think? Oh man. Now the cool thing is the clothing is sort of working, right? Like the clothing is sort of doing what we want it to. Like the draping and everything is working. Yes, neck hole's way too small, isn't it? All right, let's open this up here. This is funny looking. All right, let's find that neck hole and try to open it up a little more. Really deep V. We'll give him a nice big V neck. How about that? And probably in the back too. He's going to need that. This one. Neck feels too small for you. Yeah, I think it's too small for everybody. All right. See, this is where I should have done it. I should have done it. Now I'm already regretting it. All right, we're going to do it. Screw it. We're just going to do it. All right, the seams. So this is going to be... Just going to group these. I think this should all flow through, right? If we do a primitive group and then promote it to the... No, just do it as a point group. That's right. So if we do it as a point group, then this will be seam 1. We'll do seam 1 F. Right? Let's see if this will stick through it. Hopefully it will. I think it does. I think this flows through. Points. Yep, there we go. Perfect. All right, so that's seam 1 F. This is weird. Okay. This is like totally out of order, which is great. Love that. This is going to be seam 3 F. Seam 2. And then that is seam 4. Okay, so now we're off and running here. So that's all of that. Then we can do the same thing over here. I'll just grab one of these and just change it to R for rear, or I guess we could do, what did we call it? Back. Oh, I got them mixed up again. Ugh. Why did I do the back on the left? Back, 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 back. There we go. All right, so seam 1. This is the front, right? Front. F. All right, where's the next one? It is here. This is seam 3. This one is seam 2. And this one is seam 4. Yeah, the bigger problem is those hard corners, Matt. That's the thing that I'm trying to keep, is those actual corners, so that they don't like get soft and round and start moving around. Like it's the resample. Yeah, I'm probably thinking of it wrong. That might work. I don't know. Yes, I understand. Yes, I agree. I'm sure there's something really stupid that I'm not thinking of here, but for now, we'll just leave it. Okay, so here we go. Now we can just select actual groups and call it good. So we can say seam 1 front. Let's seam 1 back. And this is great. And there we go. Should have done that from the start, but you know, here we are. Okay, so let's see if this works any better. No, it still seems like we need a little more room there. Man, he's got a big neck, doesn't he? Shoot. All right. Now at least we've got our stuff working here. All right, let's do... Let me just see what that's looking like. Where's there too much cloth here? I think it's just his neck is too big. Let's see here. Maybe what I want to do as well is just transform these both up a little bit. I feel like it's... Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, let's try that. And here's the front panel. We're going to get real crazy here. Oops, it's probably a little too big there. I think the beautiful thing is that these will still be stitching properly. Yeah, sort of. Ah, what the heck? Why is that? That is the second group. Why are we getting those changed like that? Hmm. Um. Okay. One more thing we can add to this so that it works properly. Do a group transfer. Yeah, group transfer. That's what we want to do. Sorry. Want it to be from that. I'll just make sure that those point groups get pulled through, I think. I'm not understanding why that's not working. So it's fusing and... Oh, there it is. I knew there was something for that. Jeez. Dummy. Union. There we go. Jeez. Sorry about that. Just was not thinking straight. There we go. So we've got the fuse now. That should work. Should have those groups properly done for both. Great. Why? Why do you hate me? Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just going to do a sort on those, and I hope that's going to do it. Just to make sure that they are, do them by Y, and we'll just say all of the seam groups. Hopefully that'll do it. Same thing over here. Hopefully that will fix it, and it does. Hooray. Nope, not up there. Perfect. Nope, not that one. 2B. Okay. Jeez, Lou. All right, there we go. Great. Now we solved that one thing. Okay, armpits need to be a bit lower. We're going to get there. We're going to make this work. All right, so we're getting somewhere. Not exactly where we want to be yet, but we're getting there. All right, so we want to change. What do we want to change here? Oh, this is going to be a pain, isn't it? Yep. Just do an edit on those and pull them down. We'll do an edit, pull those down. Do the same thing over here. And then, oops. Okay, let's try that. Okay, one more thought. Let's go into this edit again here. Take these. Oops. These points, those points, and scale them. Maybe by 1.2. Okay. Let's see where that gets us. is it? Shoot. Okay. I think I now see what's happening. Let's chink these back down. What I'm at? Yeah. I think it's actually getting stuck. Well, it's starting to do something. All right. Let's see if we can't do something here. All right, so let's freeze this at frame 48, like so. Now we've got a frozen output here. Let's do a Vellum post process. And we're going to apply the weld. So that's going to weld all those points in place. So now we've got kind of a shirt that's doing something. I mean, it's not great, but it's doing something. And let's take this and move this over into the into an actual you know, post draping workflow. Obviously, I guess we could have you could certainly make a shirt, you know what I mean? I guess that's another thing you could have done, is actually modeled his shirt for him. It's possible. Again, that's not my thing. It's not that type of workflow. So I'm just trying to think, what is it? Just that he's just so gigantic that this is acting so weird? I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, there's his shirt for right now. We'll give him a little extra, maybe give it a little stretch so it'll move around in some different ways. I do wonder how that could work better. If you have any thoughts on what parts need to change on that, I'd love to hear it. Oh, you know what? Is it that this needs to be longer here maybe, and this needs to like just need to pull these points up maybe? Let's try that actually. Let's see here. Whoa. Oh, my welds got all goofed up. Cool. Maybe those need to go in X instead. I don't think that's going to be the answer anyways. Just going to put that back to where it was before. There we go. Uncheck that. Cool. All right. We'll just call it good. It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, everybody. All right, great. So we've got that. Got our shirt made for Mr. Capybara here. Let's do another Vellum configure cloth. This way we'll just kind of set up his actual shirt here from this rest position. Oh yeah, maybe. Maybe that's a good point. That's already pretty stretchy. Stiffness is like way down. Actually, I wonder if having it higher would be better. Yeah, it's about the same. I think he's just a chonky boy, and this is weird. This is weird clothes that we're trying to make, I guess. Okay. Anyways, all right, let's do this. We'll hold this at that frame. We can just. It was just super stiff right there. I turned the stiffness up actually. So it was super stiff, and then I turned it. It was down a little bit actually before. Actually, sort of worked better, I think, stiff, which is interesting. So let's leave this. Let's see, visualize thickness. We'll turn that down a little bit, maybe like so. Maybe we'll set the stretch. I don't know. Let's see if the stretch going down a little bit will work. Stiff. Actually, let's not go too crazy. Yeah, let's make it a little less stiff. Yeah, so Zach, when you have this set to be 1E plus 10, that's basically completely stiff. And what I had it at before was like 10,000. So I had that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors of 10 less. So that's 1 with 6 zeros after it, which would be a million times less stiff. Something like that. So yeah, that's what we were dealing with there. So now we've applied those welds, right? That's what's happening with this Vellum post process. We're applying the welds to the geometry. That's getting our points all linked together here. There's no longer weld constraints here. These are just actually welded together now. You can see here without the welds, you have duplicate points there. We apply the welds, now we don't. So this is now just like one big old piece of cloth. So there's our shirt. Let's just do something here. This will be a bit more helpful, I think, to do it this way now that I'm thinking of it. And we'll say anim. And we'll just switch this over, right? And so now we have the animated pose that we're going to use. So I'm just going to go back over here, sim close. I'm going to make sure that this is our static one, so we're not dealing with that at all. So that's cool. Got that all figured out. Great. Did I actually... Oh, it's redoing it. There we go. Cool. I could save that to disk. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so now let's static. Let's grab the anim version here. So this should be the rest pose into animation. There we go. So let's do that. Wire him in there. So here's our animated capybara. And let's just do a Vellum solver just to see what's going to happen here. Give it a shot. That's a very stretchy shirt. Actually, what we probably want to do is here do this detangle just to make sure we get a little bit of a detangle pass from that geometry. What is our thickness of this? 0.25. Ooh, that's pretty far, actually. Just do 0.1 to make it a little better. Just make sure we don't have any intersecting geometries there or anything. Okay, let's just give it a little more here. We'll give it an extra sub-step. Pretty silly. Let's see if we can't give it a little, like make it constrict a little bit here to him. Just kind of pull it in a little so it's not so loose. Let's turn that on. And let's turn off our collision geo there. There we go. Hey, it's sort of working. It's working, sort of. Kind of cool. Just maybe make it a little less, maybe make it a little more elasticy. There we go. Kind of tighten in a little more. I don't know. Might be a little too much. It's like kind of doing some weird stuff under his armpits there. We could actually do that over here as well now that I'm thinking of it. Like if we wanted it to be a little tighter, we could do that. We could do this 0.9 and reset the simulation. Let that recook. Yeah, exactly. Because what we're doing here effectively is once we hit this step here, we're sort of... Actually, you know what I should do? I should do an attribute delete here. Because we're sort of resetting everything, right, at this point. And what I'm going to do is just say delete non-select and only keep the ones I want. Yeah, actually, I think we're fine with cleaning out those attributes, right? We've got some seams there that are being given. We've got things like that. Oh, another thing I should mention too is that there is a way to, if you put seams in here that like lines in here. Oh, what's going on there? Sorry. If you put lines in the planar patch from curves here, if you put ones that are inside of this, you can actually define where like some of these like lines are actually going. Like they'll actually be like lines inside of there. Let me turn this off for a second. So you could actually like draw geometry inside of here, like curves inside of here, and that will define your like edges and things like that. Like I think if we did, let's see here. Let's do a merge. And if we do a Bezier curve, wire that in and enter that. I think if we do this, yep, you can actually add in seams and things like that. So obviously we need to resample that. But the point for this is like if you wanted to have like a spot where you were you needed some sort of UV attribute to appropriately, like a boundary or something like that, you can define those things in here as well. So you can see here as we pull this around, it's making that that line kind of go where we want it to. So it's kind of neat. You can kind of direct how this thing makes these edges and like the edges of these points inside of here. So it's kind of a nice little thing. They talk about she talks about that a little bit more in that Houdini user group video that I was watching. So definitely check that out if you're interested in these types of things. So yeah, so what we're doing here effectively is we're kind of getting rid of our Vellum stuff, right? We've basically just created this. We're going to keep some of our you know, groups and things like that. But now we can just sort of reinitialize this cloth and bring those attributes in this way, right? In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this sort of down. Maybe it's like 0.95 or something, and just give it a little bit there. And now we have, it starts kind of as a tighter cloth, but then we have a little bit of like movement being allowed here, right? So, you know, obviously I'm not a, this is not, you know, high-end character effects or anything like that, but this is a way that you can certainly start to think of working this way. Obviously, if you're modeling the clothes themselves, that's something you could do as well. Another thing to keep in mind here too is that you might want to do a Vellum attached to geometry, right? Yes, this is it, attached to geometry, right? And what you might want to do is something like she showed in that other video, like, let's see here. What are do we have our point groups? I think we should. Oh, cool. Oh, it made those seam groups for us. From the individual curves, it made those seam groups for us. Oh, man. Well, you know, sometimes you live and learn. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, what a dummy. Anyways, well, so anyways, sometimes you want to do things like this where it'll like attach it to the geometry, right? And you could do this where it would, let's say we did this, we did the rest length scale, something really tiny, like 0.1. This would be sort of the same thing that would have been done before, where it'll actually like pin it to the actual character like that. And then that part of it will sort of stay static, you know, more or less, like with the character as it moves. You can see how it's like pinning that down. So you could do something like that as well, where it'll kind of like keep that part attached to your character. Now you might not want it to be that, you know, blatant. So maybe this is like 0.3 and the stiffness might be like 1,000 or something like that, right? So it's like loosely constrained to it, but it has the ability to kind of move around and bounce and kind of, you know, whatever. So, you know, that could be something you might want to do as well, where you're doing a little bit of constraining while still allowing it to move. You know, 1,000 might still be too stiff. So you have to kind of play around with these, right? And like get these multipliers in first. And then you can kind of go from there. Let's see here. Can we show the guide geometry attached? Yeah, there we go. See how that actually looks there. So a little hard to see, but yeah, it's definitely letting it kind of bounce and move around a little bit more than, yeah. So another thing I guess to kind of talk about here too would be, this might just be Your simulation mesh, you might want to have a high resolution mesh that gets deformed by this, right? So you could do like a point deform or something like that on it. You could simulate the actual geometry too. I mean, there's a number of different things possible that could be done. Obviously, you wouldn't want to go with like super high resolution geometry, but you could certainly do that as well. So yeah, I think we got something going here. We got him some clothes, got him a little shirt going on here, so he's not so naked. I mean, he's not wearing pants, but I mean, maybe beggars can't be choosers. I mean, at least we're starting to get him introduced to clothes, so that he's sort of a bit more used to, being in a society. The other thing you can do here too, just to keep in mind, is if you do a Vellum post process. One of the things I did in this last one, this apply welds isn't really going to do anything now, but what you could do is do this detangle, and what I was doing there was allowing it to help kind of push away possibly some of these situations here where you've got some interpenetration. Now, I think the problem there is that his mesh is actually interpenetrating inside of itself, so that's sort of the bigger issue there. Maybe I'm trying to think of what would be a better situation there, but that I think is actually more of the issue with that geometry than anything else. Is just that we have that interpenetration there, so that's a little tricky to make it work exactly. But yeah, I think it's starting to sort of do something interesting here. We've got some clothes for him, and we could certainly change the stiffness, change some of those things. I believe, I'm trying to think here. Let's take this way down. Let's maybe even take this bend stiffness down a little bit. See if we can't really make this look a little more like loose or something. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Also, we could do this too, if we do a loop subdivision, get a little extra detail there, something like that. Maybe we turn the density down a little bit, just so it's not bouncing maybe up so high, so it doesn't have quite as much mass. Maybe. I mean, he is quite bouncy. No, I actually like it with a little more mass. In fact, maybe some more density would be better. Let's take a look. I guess these are the things that you can kind of go through and play around with and figure out, what settings are going to work better or worse for you for your setup. It looks like it's quite a bit bouncier now, but it's also kind of interesting, right? Let's see here. Just get a little view of what's going on here. That's overwriting the other one. That's all right. No problem. Actually, I'm just going to hit escape. Close this guy up. Let it open a new one up, and then we can visualize this as he's yeah, so there we go. He's got quite a bit of little bounce in his steps, so that's certainly causing some issues. Let's detach that and just see how that really makes a difference here. Yeah, it's quite a bit bouncier. You can see how much looser it is here. So that's really the difference that you're going to run into with doing this with, with something that is going to be constrained around his neck versus not constrained around his neck. Kind of just depends on what. Hey, Pip, welcome. Glad to have you on the stream. Welcome. Getting close to the end here. It's kind of fun. It's looking actually pretty cool. It's not perfect, but it's something. So that's like what it looked like before there. Yeah, I mean, it's a different look. Kind of depends. Yeah, Zach, so your question about Vellum. Is clothing simulation better in Houdini or Blender? So the question isn't really what's better for you. It just depends on, what you want to do, I guess. I'm not here to really say that, like, oh my gosh, Houdini does this better than Blender. Like, hey, if you like Blender, cool. Like that's your thing. I think Houdini has some really cool procedural workflows that allows you to have a lot of flexibility that some other programs don't have all the time. I also think that Blender has taken notice of things that Houdini does, and I know that they've been implementing node-based workflows in their software. So I think that says that there's certain things that Houdini does that's really good. So, plenty of feature films use the cloth simulation in Houdini for their films, major motion pictures. So I think it's a good clothing simulator. I think there's other ones out there that probably are good as well, but I think it's got some really nice features about it. I mean, I'm gonna obviously be biased here. I mean, this is Houdini Hangout, so but there certainly are there's lots of great things out there, and I know that the whole industry kind of looks at each other for inspiration, really, to make all of our tools better. And I think that's one thing that I've really learned recently, is that the competition between software isn't like, oh, we want to eliminate this other software. At least that's not the side effects thought process. I mean, maybe somebody thinks that, but for I think a lot of people that really care about the computer graphics industry as a whole, I think the idea is, how can we all elevate ourselves kind of together and make software better across the board. So, and give each other features and goals and things like that will elevate the entire industry. Not just saying like, well, this is the better software and we want to drive everyone out of business. Like that's kind of a crazy thought process in my mind. So anyways, so there we go. There's some cloth. So, okay, Zach, your question is the mesh. Vellum can work with quads. It can work with triangles. In fact, it was originally the original intent was for it to really only work with triangles. And I think quads, some people started putting them in and were like, oh, this works really well, actually. Like this is fine. So, you don't have to be too careful about it. I think having nice uniform mesh, a uniform mesh like this will be very beneficial for you in the long run, because you can much more easily understand, when the rest length is changing and when the stiffness is changing and all that stuff. Like, that it's going to pretty evenly apply across your cloth. If you have big irregularly sized quads or triangles or something like that, then the way that it's going to try to resolve those bends and rest lengths and constraints that you've built is going to be a little harder to like kind of understand what exactly you're going to be coming back with. So I think that is really the key in the mesh side of things. So I think like next steps that you would look at, like if you were going to go and do pants, for example, which I was kind of thinking maybe we get to, but the shirt took a bit of a little bit longer than I would have maybe hoped. But hey, you learn something. But the next thing with like the pants is you would want to constrain those specifically to his waist, right? Like that would be a big part of making sure they work, almost like a belt or whatever. And you would just find, you would get that, that cloth would be constrained underneath there or whatever, to his shorts or to his pants or whatever it might be. And that would be a big part of it, right? So, that's kind of the next steps moving on in this workflow. Carlos, you're asking, is side effects going to be present at GDC? Yeah, for sure. There's going to be some side effects staff there at GDC. This year we won't be having the Hive type setup, partially because, to be quite honest, it's just really expensive. So I know that won't be there won't be quite the same presence there, I think, that there normally is, but I think there's some other cool stuff coming up in the year, specifically around. I think there might be a couple presentations. I don't know all of those details. That's the marketing team's kind of purview. I deal with meeting with educational, with professors and people that are in education, and helping them. So it's a little different. My scope. I will be at GDC in a couple weeks, but I won't be doing any presentations. And I think there's a couple people from Side Effects that will be doing presentations, but it won't be the Hive type setup. And if you remember last year, we were kind of in a weird spot. Didn't really work out, I think, as well as we were hoping it would. These are just kind of my thought processes on it. And so it's just going to be a little different in that sense. I think there might be a couple of Side Effects talks, but I don't think there's going to be a dedicated area for Side Effects stuff. But I think throughout the year, there will be other games related kind of conferences and things like that, or events that will be, so I think there'll be some stuff coming out in the coming weeks and months and things like that. Okay. Sure. Let me see. You know what? Shaq, why don't you put that on the Discord server? I think that would be a great place, just because I'm getting ready to kind of wrap up for the evening here, and I don't want to ignore that question, but I think that would probably be a better question there anyway. So maybe some other folks could take a look at it and see to see what specifically your question is. I'd be curious to see what your old method is versus your new method. And I think you could post some images in the Discord server. You could, we could kind of converse back and forth a little more quickly, because there's a little delay here with it being a live stream and things like that. It takes a bit for us to do that. So if you want to jump in the Discord server, I think there'd certainly be some folks there, myself included, that'd be happy to take a look at that and see if we can get you on the right path. Yeah, of course. No problem. I don't want to ignore your question, but also probably would take a little bit longer to kind of dive into technical problems like that. General questions are easier to do here live on the stream, but like those more technical questions can be a little tricky to answer in these types of spaces or whatever. So yeah, I think we're gonna start winding down for the evening. We got Cappy a shirt at least, so we're gonna get him used to wearing some clothing, one piece at a time maybe. Maybe this will be a thing to revisit in the future. See if we can get him some pants at some point. See how that might work. And maybe the real thing here is just maybe the better way of doing this would be to actually model these clothes versus just doing it with flat pieces that get joined together. Awkward, your question, am I doing Mardini challenge for fun? I haven't been doing it. I actually should have thought about doing that tonight as well. I'm honestly so crazy busy right now. Like, most of the days of my week are pretty full. Like, I do this. I've had other things externally just other obligations and things like that. And I haven't really thought too much about doing it. I also have quite a few presentations that I'm getting ready for schools and things like that, for work, and just there's been a lot of things on my mind. So I haven't really thought about doing it, but I do really love Mardini, and I should do it again for fun sometime. I should just maybe make it a point to set aside March as like a thanks, Paul. I don't need to sleep. Yeah, what's sleep? What's sleep even? Nice to see you in the chat, Paul. That's awesome. Yeah, so anyways, no, this year I haven't really been doing it, but maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I'll have to look and see what days are coming up, and maybe I will do one next week or something. Maybe do both. We'd have like a MOPS stream and a regular Houdini Hangout. So maybe next week I'll look and see what those days are going to be and see if I can incorporate them. That could be kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up for today. We're getting out pretty long on this stream, but yeah, I think it was interesting. This, like I said, this is kind of my first time playing around with some of these things and getting into them. I was doing some learning, just kind of casually on the side, just watching a couple videos, and I was like, oh, this would be fun to kind of bring this and talk about it on the stream. So yeah, hopefully it was at least informative on some of these beginner introduction kind of clothing setups and stuff like that. And over on the Discord, I'll drop that link to the really good talk that goes into some really in-depth stuff. It's like an hour long, and she's like really goes through like a ton of setups and things like that. So it's really interesting to see. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for joining tonight. Always appreciate the chats and conversation and things like that. And yeah, hopefully see you sometime next week. Like I said, we'll have a Monday and a Wednesday stream. And, if you have anything in the meantime, feel free to connect on Discord. You can get an invite link through HoudiniHangout.com, and you can put topic suggestions and all that kind of stuff there. So yeah, thank you all for joining. Glad it was a fun time to kind of work through some of these things. Yeah, thank you all for your suggestions and comments, and I'll hope to see you next time. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye.